Hello everybody and welcome to this video. It's the continuation of my series on AQA GCSE English Literature, the 2017 onwards exams. In the last two videos we looked at the Literature Paper 1 Section A. This video is about Paper 1 Section B, but I do need to say that most of the stuff is the same as Section A, which is really nice from the exam board. The assessment objectives are the same, the criteria in the mark scheme is the same, the skills they're looking for. So this isn't going to be such a detailed video as the last two. Just head back to the previous two videos on Section A and we'll build on those skills for Section B. Of course, no marks are awarded in Section B for spelling, punctuation and grammar, so you don't have to worry about at the end checking through your spellings and all of that kind of thing, your punctuation. Obviously, you want to communicate in a way which is clear and makes sense, but don't worry about it is what I'm saying. Okay, and it's about 50 minutes that you should spend on Section B. We said that you should probably spend 50 minutes on Section A, then 5 minutes checking your spelling, punctuation and grammar, and then about 50 minutes on Section B. Now, everything that I go through in this video comes from Mr. Bruff's Guide to GCSE English Literature. It's over 100 pages long and it includes links to exclusive videos, £3.99 at mrbruff.com or amazon.co.uk. It's an ebook, instantly downloads to your PC or your iPad, Kindle, whatever, that kind of thing. So please do pick up a copy and it'll help you because the things that I talk about today you can follow along in the ebook. Okay, so let's have a more focused look at Section B. As with Section A, Section B is still part of the closed book exam. Now, we're moving on to Section B being the 19th century novel. Various schools studying various different novels, but you won't be able to take a copy of the novel in with you. You will be provided with an extract of around a page or 3/4 of a page from the novel in question, and you'll be asked a question about it, but you will also be asked to apply that question to the novel as a whole. So it's really important to have an in-depth understanding and sort of expertise knowledge of your text and to have memorized some key quotations. And there are videos in this playlist and a page in the ebook about how to memorize key quotations. But it is a big challenge, and I think for me as a teacher, it's one of the most daunting aspects of this exam is that you are not allowed to take the book in with you. So the assessment objectives, all of them are assessed, AO1, 2, 3 and 4, but with a different weighting. AO1 and 2 are the most important in terms of this paper, and that's your analysis of language, structure and form, and your ability to write a critical answer backed up with quotations. There are some marks awarded for your knowledge of context, and I've got a video about what is meant by context in this playlist. It's not just as simple as we might think. The exam board have really broadened out the sort of definition of what is meant by context, so do watch that video. So it's important to say something about context, but it is worth half as much as your analysis of AO1 and 2. And AO4, the spelling, punctuation and grammar is not assessed in Section B. I apologise, it's not all four. It's not AO4 for Section B. So it's AO1, 2 and 3. The percentages on the screen are for the whole paper. And in Section B, it's just AO1, 2 and 3. This is a typical question. So you're given an extract from the book. This says, read the following extract from Chapter 5. This is an example based on Pride and Prejudice, and answer the following question, and then it contextualizes the extract, sort of tells you where it's coming from and what's important, and says in this extract the Bennet and Lucas families are discussing the assembly room dance they attended the previous evening. And then you have an extract and then you have a question, which in this case is starting with this extract, write about how Austen presents attitudes towards women. Write about how Austen presents attitudes to women in the extract and how Austen presents attitudes towards women in the whole novel, 30 marks. Now, as I talked about in the previous video, this word starting is a really good discriminator. I think as there are no higher or foundation tier papers now, everyone's doing the same paper. I think the higher ability student is going to be able to use the extract as a jumping off point, a starting point, but then going to be able to demonstrate their expertise and their supreme knowledge of the text and and perhaps a weaker student is going to focus more on the extract. Anyway, how Austen presents attitudes to women in this extract. Now, what we're looking to do is to focus on, and in the novel as a whole. So we're trying to focus on language, structure, and form. And we don't just want to write about plot. Now, writing about plot is basically saying, when this happens in the story, this is what we learn. Okay, so it's not that that's wrong, but it's very simple level analysis. It's like when Darcy proposes to Elizabeth, what we learn about attitudes towards women is that men want them. It's just it's not analysing the writer's use of language, structure or form. It's just saying, when this happens, we learn this. And in my experience, and I've got a lot of experience of this, students find it very easy to write that kind of analysis. But what we're looking at is the language. So does Jane Austen use particular words or phrases for a particular effect in her attempt to present attitudes towards women? How does she structure this extract and the text as a whole in terms of attitudes to women? And how is the form used in terms of attitudes towards women? So at no point is it, how does the storyline tell us something about attitudes towards women? Okay, so let me give you an example of a sample answer. Now, you'll have to read the extract yourselves. You can see it in the ebook. It's all printed there. But here's a sample answer, and what I'd like you to do in the comments section is to tell me what is good and what could be improved about this answer. Okay, because it's not a perfect answer, because there's very little point in me presenting you with a perfect answer as a 34-year-old with English GCSE, English A-level, English degree, 10 years of English teaching, and the publisher of 15 books on English. So I'm trying to kind of write at the sort of level that I think is attainable at GCSE, and you tell me what you think is particularly good and what could be improved. In this extract, Austen presents women as givers of pleasure to men. One of the earliest points established is the fact that women are there to be admired physically by men. In this extract, Charlotte Lucas explains that she overheard Mr. Robinson asking Mr. Bingley whether he did not think there were a great many pretty women in the room. It is perhaps odd to see even high society acting in such a sexual manner, the men surveying the women and judging who is the most attractive. It's surprising how open and indiscreet this conversation between the men was. All of the surrounding women could hear how they were being talked about. Even more shocking is the fact that the women, on recounting the story in this chapter, are proud and celebratory of the comments Jane received. Whilst men may act as improperly as they feel, brazenly and openly judging women on their looks, women may not. It is Charlotte Lucas, once again, who explains the role a woman must take if interested in a man. She argues that in 9 cases out of 10, a woman had better show more affection than she feels. The role of women is here made very clear. They must work hard to attract the men they're interested in. Men may act with a careless nonchalance, but women must fight for their man. Here we see that attitudes to women are biased, based purely on their gender. Another attitude towards women is their physical appearance is of vital importance. The importance of physical appearance is further explored in the same chapter in Austen's description of Mary, who, having in consequence of being the only plain one in the family, worked hard for knowledge and accomplishments. This once again enforces the idea that a woman's looks are vital in all pursuit of marriage. If you suffer the misfortune of not being beautiful, you'll have to make up for it with knowledge. In the patriarchal society in which the novel is set, women were beholden to men to succeed in life. As a result, this sexist judgment of women was difficult to avoid. Women needed men, even men who treated them poorly. When Mr. Darcy comments on Elizabeth's eyes, also in the same chapter, he explains that women's eyes can give man great pleasure. Once again, we see that women's physicality serves the purpose of giving pleasure to men. However, women put a great deal of pressure on themselves too. When Elizabeth walks to Longbourn to see the sickly Jane, the Bingleys mock the fact that she decided to walk 3 miles or 4 miles or 5 miles or whatever it is above her ankles in dirt. Here we can see that the Bingley sisters reinforce the concept that a woman should be attractive to the eye at all times. Austen also suggests that much of the pressure women feel is self-inflicted. In chapter 39, Lydia exclaims, "Jane will be quite an old maid soon, I declare. She's almost 23. Lord, how ashamed I should be of not being married before 23. The words of Lydia are used by Austen to criticise how women of the era were so accepting of their plight. And we know from the author's own life and her rejection of a marriage proposal that Austen did not see marriage as something to be eagerly grasped at upon the first chance. Austen's presentation of the treatment of women, much of it self-inflicted, can be read as a scathing criticism of a society which had such unrealistic and unfair expectations of women. The manner in which these views of women are presented throughout the book, and not just on one or two occasions, is Austen's deliberate use of structure. The writer fills her novel with examples of this attitude in a bid to make it very clear to the reader that these attitudes are prevalent in all areas of society. So have a think about that. Now, there were some bits of that answer that were very good and some bits that could have been improved and perhaps some things that were missing. But I'd like you to engage with this video and put a comment in the comment section, positives and negatives of that sample answer, and I'll engage with your comments too. So guys, I hope you found this video useful. As I said, the skills in section B of paper 1 are the same as the skills in section A, apart from the marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar. So there's not a great deal of point in me repeating them all. You just need to watch the previous 2 videos and pick up the ebook at mrbruff.com. Remember, I do have a free podcast on iTunes, the Mr. Bruff podcast, so download that for even more help. What else have I got? Books at mrbruff.com and on Amazon. If you're lucky enough to have a Kindle, over 800 videos here on youtube.com/Mr. Bruff. Check out my website, mrbruff.com. And I think that's about it. So yeah, thanks guys. Give the video a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to this channel. And thanks for all of your support. You made it to the end of the video. Well done.